Thank you all for having me. I'm excited to be here at the Databricks Data and AI Summit to share some thoughts on transforming businesses through data-driven Gen AI. All right, so before I get started, I'll share a couple things about me, a little bit of background, and level set how I'm going to approach this today. So again, as is on the title, my name's Jason Brown. I am the GM of Cloud and Platforms at Acxiom, and I'm also the head of strategic alliances at IPG, which is the holding company that owns Acxiom. So for those of you not familiar, Acxiom is a marketing services company. IPG is, of course, one of the big five media agencies that's in the ecosystem. And so we live in the world of marketing and advertising. And that's the lens through which I'm going to be approaching this topic today. Myself, I've got over 25 years in this business. I've been using emerging technology, data, process to help clients, marketing clients, realize better results and better return on their marketing investment for basically that whole time. And I've been, kind of up and down the stack, if you will, everything from engineering and product development to sales and client management, running large P&Ls and businesses, and of course, obviously, I mentioned earlier, very much in the partner ecosystem. So pretty interesting perspective, and I'm going to approach this, I think, a little differently than maybe some of the others. I don't have any slides. That's it. I'm going to share with you some of my experience from a business perspective on how the technologies that we've seen in the past, and more importantly, the technologies being driven by Gen AI, moving now and into the future, help us drive business outcomes. And again, focus on transforming businesses, not transforming processes and technologies per se, because at the end of the day, the business isn't transformed if the outcomes aren't changed. And so how do we leverage this sea of capability and exciting innovation to actually begin achieving outcomes and start paying it off, right? So we're at an AI conference, right? We're at a tech conference with one of the leaders in the AI space as our host. You guys are going to have the opportunity to scratch your itch of technology and innovation and all of the rabbit holes that can be gone down in terms of the science behind Gen AI, even the socioeconomic impacts of it if you want. There are many topics that you'll have ample opportunity to delve into throughout the week, and I encourage you to do so, and I will be doing that myself. In this session here, we're going to raise it up a little bit, and we're going to talk about the practical application of Gen AI to business problems and how there are some having success with that and how others will continue to have success. And I'll propose to you kind of as an overall premise here, a hypothesis that we're in a bit of a race to practicality with Gen AI right now from a business perspective. And I know I'm speaking to a room full probably of mostly technologists. There may be a few business leaders here as well. So if you're a business leader, I hope some of this resonates with you and provokes some thought. And if you're a technology provider or a technologist, I hope it gives you a window into how the consumers of what you do can best take advantage of the great work that you're doing and the innovation that's happening. So with that, I'll dive in, right? So focus is the theme. And what I mean by that is if you go to, again, at this show, you go to any forum where the providers of Gen AI driven technologies are showcasing their wares or holding discussions, it's almost overwhelming. Like, honestly, every time I hear Jensen Huang speak, I feel like I've gone 5 years further behind what's going on. I mean, it's moving fast, and that's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to go, and it's great that it is. Right now, where we're at, there's enough maturity in terms of capability, and companies like Databricks have done enough to package that capability and make it useful in applications that there's a real market demand and an opportunity now to power business use cases with that. So starting with use cases, I mentioned I'm from the marketing and advertising world. So in the marketing and advertising world, there are really two domains. I mean, there are myriad functions that support the marketing operations and that are fed by the marketing budgets to generate the sales and the conversions and the revenue that drive the businesses. But there are really two domains things roll up to. You have the people engagement, and notice I intentionally didn't say customer or consumer, because we have, for the last several years, the research data on consumers has been very clear that expectations for consumers or for people have evolved to where relevance of, hey, offering me the right product that I might need when I need that product, that's that's yesterday's expectation. The expectation of today is that brands engage people in context of their whole lives. So people, they're not just consumers or customers, they're people. And the brand, when it gets it right, will appropriately complement that individual's whole life. Be there, be engaged when they need them, maybe not when they don't need them, but getting it right. And so obviously that takes a lot of data, and the computational power of GenAI can be a big aid to that. So people engagement, and then marketing and advertising operations. So you've kind of got the revenue and the cost side of the business there, if you will. And those are the two domains in which we can sort of funnel everything up in the marketing and advertising business in terms of whether or not a technology or process is driving value. So in doing that, you have two different disciplines. Of course, the one feeds the other. The operations helps create the engagement or helps facilitate or execute the engagement. But so AI has application in both. Okay, AI, Gen AI specifically. Obviously, there's a very strong intuition that if you have the right data and you have your models trained in that data and you have the ability to have that data inform the processes you use, or even maybe run the processes you use, you should theoretically be able to engage consumers more coherently, in context their whole lives, across all the different channels and touch points that they interact with you on, all the things that you know about them, all the things they want you to know about them, and so on. On the operations side, the opportunity is a little bit different. The opportunity to disintermediate some of the mundane tasks that are largely human-driven today, that one creates efficiency, but even more than efficiency, creates effectiveness. If you have a strategy and you have capabilities on the engagement side, that is often governed by your ability to execute that. And Gen AI gives us the opportunity to increase our ability to execute. And then on the human side, it opens up a world of possibility in terms of freeing up your human capital to create higher impact and to create more value for your business and for your clients. And I'll give one quick anecdote on the operations and the human capital side. So, business that I had run at Acxiom for several years, we had an architect, an enterprise architect. The man was brilliant. Man, he had multiple decades of experience, always versed in the latest technologies, deep understanding of the client's business, deep understanding of Acxiom's business. Yet, he often was constrained in his impact by virtue of being deployed to tactical or operational things. He was the one who knew how to fix system X when it broke. He was the one who could go effectively lead a team to deliver an incremental development release or something like that. And yeah, some of that was due to just, process, and we made some leadership changes. We changed his role and we allowed him to elevate a little bit. But the real root cause was the fact that we had a whole operational platform that was, it was automated. We leveraged technologies we had, but a tool like GenAI would enable us, or technologies like GenAI, will enable us to build tools and to build an environment that can abstract the brilliance of that individual completely from that day-to-day and help them impact the business in a much more innovative and much broader way and create more progress, right? So that's an example on the, I gave an example high level on the personal engagement side, but on the operational side, you have that. So now kind of bending that back to data, all right? So what data? So you want a lot of data because AI, the more data you give AI, the smarter it is. But when you want to narrow down to the use cases that you're going to focus on, there's specific data you can focus on that is executable, because aggregating data is an operation itself. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes effort. And businesses, when they're trying to consume technology, are throttled by the resources and the time they have to put into that. So choosing how to use that wisely to generate impact is the best way to start to scale that and create more impact. So I'll give an example of a way today that IPG and Acxiom are working with a strategic partner who happens to also be a strategic partner of Databricks to very tangibly use GenAI to create the type of value I'm talking about. So IPG and Adobe are large strategic partners. Part of that partnership, Adobe is leveraging Acxiom data and identity products natively within its platform. And within that, Adobe is using Acxiom data to train Sensei, the AI engine, GenAI engine it has in its CDP and AEP products that help inform and create audience, help choose audiences, create segmentation, and determine the appropriate offers for a given audience in a given campaign. And so that work is underway, and those are things that will be real, and they'll be delivered later this year in some form or fashion, and certainly be in a more general available sense at the latest by the beginning of next year. So that's very now things. But what's cool about that is there's another side of the partnership. So IPG is rolling out Gen Studio across its creative and media agencies to improve its ability to deliver creative using Firefly, which is the Gen AI engine Adobe has in the creative space, in order to upscale and enhance the generation of creatives in a way and with a level of complexity that's just simply not achievable with people. And so what we're using as a North Star in that partnership, and while the rollout of Firefly and Gen AI Gen Studio, as a tool in the creative space today, and the application of Acxiom data underneath to train Sensei in the audience creation space is sort of the near term. The very next step, and it's important that the data, to understand the data and tech exists today to do this. So this is just a matter of execution. It's not a matter of waiting on an innovation or anything to happen. The next step is that we're going to bring those worlds together. So the future state will be that you can go from the data lake. You go from the data lake where your core people, all your product and people, every data that you have that helps inform how you're going to market to people sits. You can access that data from AEP, use CDP to create an audience, have prospects that you don't know. The Acxiom data represents every consumer in the United States with 8,000 attributes about each one of them. So that gives you, if you're a brand, that gives you an audience of people you don't know to go prospect. Sensei is trained on that data. You can choose audiences optimized toward business outcomes that you have provided that AI engine. And then you can now go and distribute that audience. You can syndicate that audience to whatever high-value publishing partners or platform partners, endpoints that you want, again, as informed by your AI in terms of relevance to that consumer or the consumers in that campaign. And then the next step is when it's time to apply the creative, Firefly can then be trained on the same data. And so now you have the ability with the scale of Gen AI, the computational power to consider all the different variables and all the different possible outcomes, to have a campaign where each individual that sees that campaign can have a one-of-one personalized creative that goes with the offer and the channel of engagement that's timed correctly for their experience. So that is a tool, and that's an example. It's a use case. It's a business use case that will measurably improve the performance of the dollars that brands put into media, and also improve the customer's experience or the individual's experience engaging with that brand. And if you think of the sea of AI, and you think of the sea of all the different technologies and capabilities that you see out there, that's an extremely narrow view. But it's really important from a business leader's perspective, and for those of you empowering business leaders with your products and capabilities, to start to make that traction. Like I said earlier, we're in a race to practicality right now. That's a very practical example of using these technologies. There are many more, and getting these lower level, these kind of individual high impact use cases enabled will allow us to scale. And then when the businesses can adopt this technology, that folds back and lets the technology grow faster, right? So that's what I wanted to share. Again, I appreciate you tolerating the informal nature of it relative to some of what else we're seeing today. I hope the difference is maybe a little bit valuable, a little bit refreshing in some ways. And we still have a few minutes, so I'd love to take any questions that anyone would have on these topics.